It was tough because now we come to 2012, another Olympic here. Leading up to that, feel a lump in my breast, and my first gynecologist that I went to, she kind of brushed me off.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you feel like something is still not right, I got the call that Monday to say I had cancer. I was leaving for Jamaica that Tuesday to compete at the Nationals.
Wow.
That's one thing that I tell people now. I'm like, you know your body better than anyone else. You don't feel like something is right. I'm like, you gotta speak up.
And you taught me how to do a self-breast exam.
Yeah.
Never in my life would I have imagined that that information would save my life. My children have a mother because of you, so.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Lowe Point. My guest today is a woman who I can honestly say may have saved my life. It was in the back of a bus in Marrakesh where Novlene Williams-Mills taught me how to do a self-breast exam, a technique that later led to my own breast cancer discovery. Novlene is one of the most decorated runners in Jamaican history, winning multiple Olympic medals and world championship medals. But it has to be her strength outside of the track that has been a positive influence to her thousands, if not millions of fans, and the reason why I consider her my saving grace. I'm honored to be joined today on the Lowe Point by Novlene Williams-Mills. But first, a word from our sponsor.
I'm Maya, and these are my breasts. From sports bras to minimizer bras, we've had a complicated relationship. And then I found a lump, breast cancer. During treatment, I asked about Kisqali, a pill that can help reduce my risk of cancer returning. Now, I have a new perspective on what matters.
Kisqali, with an aromatase inhibitor, is for adults with stage 2 and 3, HR-positive, HER2-negative early breast cancer with a high risk of recurrence. Kisqali may cause serious skin reactions, liver problems, and low white blood cell counts that may result in serious infections. Life-threatening lung problems and abnormal heartbeats can occur. Your doctor should test your heart and blood before and during treatment. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening cough, chest pain, or dizziness. Before taking Kisqali, tell your doctor all your medical conditions, medicines you take, and if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, or planning to be, as it can harm an unborn baby. Common side effects include nausea, headache, and tiredness.
I'm doing more today to help protect my tomorrow because I'm more than just breast cancer.
Hey Novlene, I am so incredibly honored that you're joining me here today. Now we go way back, like way, way back. I think maybe even to 2006 or beyond. We've shared the track together. We've shared the Olympic Village together. Even though you represent Jamaica, we've been on the same team together. And now we are going to be here talking about some of our life experiences that we've faced together. And so I want to start by asking you, what does resilience mean to you?
Showing up when the circumstance is not in your favor, is pushing through, the noises, pushing through even when you want to give up. You just keep going.
So where did you learn that? We understand that our sport, track and field, is everyone else's punishment. So you kind of learn that resilience on the track, but did you have something in your lifetime where you were able to kind of forge that mindset and understand resilience before you even stepped on the track?
I think growing up with, so many siblings, I have eight brothers and sisters. So
wow,
I'm 7 of 9. So, I grew up in a big family. So I think the biggest thing is, for me, it was always, what can I do to make a difference, to not be stuck in the situation where I was, not in a bad situation, but how can I make it out of where I'm from? Okay, how can I make a difference to make sure that my family move ahead? And I'm not just one of the ones that just finish high school and start having a whole bunch of kids. But, what can I do to, give myself that chance and that opportunity to move along in life?
Wow, yeah. I know that resonates with me deeply. I think that, when you have to take a certain amount of ownership for your future, even at a young age, understanding that, you know, what you do and what you decide to do is going to determine how you'll be able to live the rest of your life. So that resonates really deeply with me. Now, you are one of Jamaica's most decorated Olympians. You know, we have a lot of amazing athletes coming out of Jamaica. Maybe Usain Bolt pop up. No, sorry. But you've been to 4 Olympic Games. You have multiple medals. But what did the world see versus what was really going on behind closed doors? Like that part of your journey that people don't normally get to take a peek behind.
I think for me, you know, having all these medals, it's great. You know, it's great. I've done it on the track, but you know, for me, I think the hardest thing was when I had to, you know, step away silently. You know, in 2012, and the beginning of 2013 to deal with my own battle with breast cancer. I think that was one of the, you know, people were like, I've run a bunch of races. Yeah. I've done all the races, I've done all the training, but none was preparing me for that moment when I've received a call to say, you have breast cancer. I don't think I was ready for that.
Yeah. I happen to know that myself, you know, going through my own breast cancer journey. And I think that even in our sport, it's kind of like reminiscent because in our sport, you get the attention for track and field like every 4 years. And what people don't understand is that there's competitions, there's injuries, there's battles, there's coaching changes and challenges. And I think you faced one of those challenges early on in 2007 with your coach in college. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience and what happened there?
Yeah, so I attended the University of Florida. Go Gators. So I was trained under Tom Jones. He was my college coach. He was training me, you know, for the first part of my career. But in 2007, I think it was March, we lost him to cancer. So, you know, imagine you in the middle of your season, getting ready for in the middle of your season, and you know now you're faced with a challenge of, I'm coachless.
Yeah,
I don't have a coach at this point. What do I do? And I think for me, it was, you know, trying to figure out how to navigate the whole thing.
Yeah.
So my last part of my season, from I think March, was I technically coached myself for that world championship, which a lot of people don't know. It was tough, you know, in moving from somebody that always write your workout, always showing up, always timing you to, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You know, even though he was sick, you know, I was still getting my workout.
Yeah.
You know, even though he was sick and physically could not be at the track, you know, there was not a day that I didn't wake up and I have my workout. So even the day that he passed away, he wrote my workout before he passed away.
Wow.
Yes. So even though it was a tough day for me because he passed away in the morning, I was like, he take the time to write this workout. I was going to do it with all the emotion that I was going through. I still show up at that track because I was like, you know, if he can take the time to write that workout before he took his last breath, wow. I have to honor that to make sure.
I didn't know that story, and I think it's a testament to the resilience that you were talking about. It's the embodiment of finding a way to keep going no matter what. And I can't even imagine the emotional turmoil that you're going through because your coach almost becomes a surrogate parent.
Yeah.
Like you left your country, you're in a new country, in a new place. And so that's somebody that becomes like family to you. And so just to be able to go out there, train and compete, and you went to the World Championships. How did that go?
I got third in the 400, so I got a bronze in the 400. And I think we got a silver in the 4x4. But,
just 2 medals.
But, you know, as you said, you know, when you find a coach, you're trying to find a safe space.
Yeah.
And Coach Jones was a safe space, along with his wife, Dr. Jones, Sandy Jones. You know, that was my safe space because I know that I could have that motherly figure. Even until this day, you know, we still talk. I saw her pass here at Tom Jones. So,
yeah,
you know, I always know that I could have that person that I could talk to. And, you know, Coach Jones was one of those persons where, you know, he never traveled with me to overseas, to Europe.
Yeah.
But I would call him and I'd be like, okay, this is a person that is in the race. But he could tell me how to run that race. And he would tell me, okay, this person going to go out, this person going to do this.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So that was one of the things I love about him. It's like, it was always on point.
Yes. And people don't know, like, the struggle of track and field. You have to compete in Europe if you want to make money.
Yes.
And so you're away from your coach, you're away from everything that's familiar, and you're still having to find a way to compete at the top with the best of them.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. Was this your first up close brush with the seriousness of cancer?
Yes. Well, in some where my mom is also two-time breast cancer survivor.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my mom, she had breast cancer before, but I was not there. I was in the state, so I didn't have to deal with it on an everyday to day like that. So Coach Jones was like the closest where, I'm seeing it every day and see what kind of toll it really take on someone's body.
And then even after that, you went to the World Championships. You were able to get your individual bronze medal, which is amazing, by the way, and then come back and get this silver medal in the 4x4.
Yes.
And then the next year is an Olympic year. So now you're having to find a way, everything's changed. Do you continue to coach yourself, or do you now try to find another system to help be successful?
I was trying to find another system because it's, when you're trying to find a coach, it's like, what do I look for?
Yeah.
I was living in Gainesville. There's not much coaches in Gainesville, so now I'm like, I need somebody that, I can relate to.
Yeah. Because
that's one of the biggest things for me when it comes to a coach. I need somebody that I can relate to, I can talk to. Like, I don't need anybody to be, I've done that, keep shouting, I don't do good with that part of it too much. I need to be like, okay, if I have a problem or a situation, instead of telling me from across the track, you can be like, okay, this is what you are doing wrong. Do this, correct this, fix this, because, that goes well with me because, I'm a person like, get too loud, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to... You shut it down.
But you could give it back too. You're a sweetheart, but you could give it back. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want you to kind of take me to what we're going to consider the low point, right? This is where you hear those words, you have cancer. Like, what was going through your mind? Like, how did that feel? What was that like?
It was tough because now we come to 2012, another Olympic year. And leading up to that, I feel a lump in my breast. And, my first gynecologist that I went to, she kind of brushed me off.
Yeah.
And, sometimes when you feel like something is still not right, instead of be like, okay, figuring that out, I know I was young. I was 30.
Yeah.
And I'm not at the age for mammogram yet.
10 years away from getting a mammogram.
Exactly. So, didn't do anything. And I remember my husband had an appointment with his primary doctor. And I don't even know why I went because I don't even go to my appointment with my husband. And I went, and somehow I was talking to his doctor and I was like, I'm looking for a gynecologist. Do you know of one? And he was like, there's one close by, is a male, if you don't mind. I said, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I remember once we leave his appointment, I stopped there and I make an appointment. I went in and I saw him and I was, made the concern that I was having also. It was like, I know you're young, but I'm going to send you to do a mammogram.
Yeah.
So I did the mammogram. They did ultrasound at the same time.
Yeah.
But, they came back. They were like, we see it. We want to double check.
Okay.
What
so
it
they said they
is.
see it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was like, I see you worried. I'm going to send you to do a biopsy.
Yeah.
So indeed, the biopsy, I think I did it on a Thursday or a Friday. I got the call that Monday to say I had cancer. I was leaving for Jamaica that Tuesday to compete at the nationals.
Wow.
Yes. So, I still went to Jamaica, crazy. But,
That's resilience. Because resilience.
In the back of my mind, I still haven't told no one.
Yeah.
I still didn't tell my family because I was like, sometimes when you want to get that call to say, is somebody else's results? Yeah, it never happened. So now, between me, getting that causes that I have breast cancer was also make an appointment, So I made an appointment for once I came back from Jamaica, to go in and, see what all the options, kind of hear more about what was going on.
Yeah.
And stuff. So at that point, I was like, I know I need to tell my agent. I know I need to tell people that, not everyone, that I have breast cancer, So I did, at that point, I went to the appointment. I listened.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I listened. I don't know how much I hear. My husband was there. And I think it was finally after that appointment was when I went outside and really collapsed on the floor.
Yeah.
Because everything was like, this is reality now. This is what that I know I have a fight.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big one.
Wow. Just so many things that you said brought up emotions for me. Like, it was exactly the same for me. My first doctor brushed me off. And they told me that, you're too young and too fit. And so I was 34 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then the second thing that you said that really resonated with me was just like what it feels like when you hear those words. It's like your heart stops. And the fact that you were able to go and compete, it's not something that you could really just put on a shelf. When you have those quiet moments by yourself, you're still fighting for the battle of your mind. And you're thinking about all the shoulda, coulda, and wouldas. I want to commend you for advocating for yourself. A lot of people don't listen to their body. They're not listening to the signals that their body's giving off, and they're not advocating for themselves. So just the power of your voice in that moment, even if it felt like a whisper, to speak up and talk to the doctor, that's amazing.
And that's one thing that I tell people now. I'm like, you know your body better than anyone else. So if something is not, you don't feel like something is right, I'm like, you gotta speak up. I'm like, I said, if that one doctor won't listen, find another one.
Find another one until you're satisfied.
Yeah.
See, I told you, that's a little attitude I was telling them. I like it though, because you're protecting your life and your well-being. The second thing that you brought up that really resonated with me was when you said you collapsed on the floor. I did the exact same thing. And it's just like the weight of the fight that's in front of you, and you know how strong you are. You cross finish lines. You lift heavy weights. You've worked out until you've thrown up. Like, I'm sure you.
No, I don't show up in practice.
Oh,
that's one thing David Oliver always said to me was like, I don't know how you run the 400 and never show up in practice. I'm like, no.
You are a superwoman, because there's not a time I've run the 400 and did not throw. So I want to ask you, because you found the strength to keep going. And we've talked a little bit about your background, your resilience, things that you've been through, but how did you find that strength? What did you do in that moment and continue to do to give yourself a fighting chance of beating this thing?
I think having that support system for me was the biggest thing, And when I say my support system, my husband was my rock. I tell you, he gave me that shoulder that I could cry, because, sometimes you're going through something and you don't feel like, well, I don't want nobody to see. No, he gave me that space to be myself and to cry. But I think the biggest thing was also having that support when it comes to my medical team.
Yeah.
That's also one of the important things, along with my friends, because they were there, families, friends, but a great medical team, because for me, I'm used to structure. Like, okay, we start the season. Where are my races? If I don't get hurt, where are my races? Where am I going to run? We have that, season planned out. So having from, okay, once your surgery is finished, you're going to see this doctor, you're going to see that doctor. And I meet with them before, everything happens. So I know I have A, B, C, and D. So once my surgery was finished, I didn't have to be like, okay, what do I do next? Who do I see next?
Yeah.
So it was kind of laid out for me pretty good. And to also know that, okay, I'm going to meet them, because if I don't like you, you're not going to be a part of my team.
Yeah.
So each one of my doctors, they were fantastic. So that helped a lot, because then it kind of take off the worries off me, and to make sure that they have my best interest to say, okay, this is what I see, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Because then leave that focus on me to make sure that I'm focusing on myself, I'm staying healthy, I'm doing everything that I need to do, because that was always the question is, what do I need to do next? Because you don't get training for this. You know, you train for track. You know, you have a coach that tell you everything you need to do, right? The workout, but you know, you don't get training for this. I remember when I was going through, you know, I had to meet, I think it was my plastic surgeon. And one of my doctor was like, I have this great lady I want you to meet, and her name is Leah, which is, you know, one of my good friends until this day. And she was going through her own breast cancer, and I met her, and I'm like, why are you so bubbly? Like,
Yes, I know that feeling.
I'm like,
where did you find this joy?
and you know, and I think she found out what and she looked at me and she was like, you just compete in front of millions of people, and you're afraid to fight breast cancer? Get yourself together.
Girl.
And I think that was like something that went off, and I'm like, she's right.
Yes.
I got this.
Yes.
I'm like, if she can still be this type of person where it's, you know, she's not letting what she's going through bring her down and have this demeanor.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got this.
Yes.
I'm like, I got this. You know, so, you know, I have to change that mindset. And sometimes it takes just a regular person or somebody that's going through the same thing to be like, I got it.
Absolutely. And it's like, I think that one thing that I've learned as I'm transitioning into the business world is that all of those lessons that we've learned while we're competing, while we're training, while we're going and doing our best and things don't go perfectly and then we lose, like, how do we keep going? How do we get back up? Those skills are transferable. And what I like to say is that we have to redefine the gold in our life. Like, yes, it's amazing. We've broken records, we got medals, but the real gold are the lessons that we've learned along the way, that when we're in the bottom of the pit of despair and hopelessness, that those lessons that we've learned have made us strong, and that muscle of resilience is strong. So now all those quantifiable skills, we could apply it to this journey. Wow. Just hearing you say it and just seeing the similarities between our journey, it's like that Olympian turned on. Okay, who's on my team? You're on my team. You're not.
Team. And for me, we run in the spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and a lot of people, I think they were, you know, when they find out, they were like, why you didn't tell me? I said, this was a private battle.
Yeah.
That I didn't know. I don't know what was the outcome. I didn't know how to fight it.
Yeah.
I was like, I need that private moment.
Absolutely.
To myself to do this.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to maybe friends that really know, it was a handful of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going through this and I'm trusting you with it.
Yeah.
To be like, you know, it's not a secret for you to hold, but
yeah.
I would hope that you can, you know, refrain from telling people, let me fight this privately.
Yes.
Because I don't want 10 phone calls a day to be like, are you really care about me, or you just want to be in my business?
Absolutely. And so what I adopted when I was going through that journey is something called planting the seeds and pulling the weeds. And I felt like if it's going to give me joy, it's going to give me peace. Like you were talking about your surgeon, where she was like, I'm going to feed that. I'm going to water those type of relationships. But there's anything that's going to drain me and bring fear, like I'm pulling that out.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to have that circle close, because you want people that are not going to give you all the statistics of the scary things that could happen, but instead give you stories of hope, because that battle for your mind is ferocious. It's 24/7. And so you want to make sure you have the right people in your circle that will get you over that finish line, which is for your life.
Yeah. And I'm like, no pity party.
No pity party.
I'm like, don't come with that. And I'm like, I don't do that. I'm like, if you're not going to encourage me, motivate me, I'm like, then
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. So let me ask you this. What did you learn about yourself? In this particular situation, you said this is brand new. So what did you learn about yourself and your faith in this moment?
For me, I think I didn't know how strong I was. Because if somebody did tell me, Novlene, you're going to go through this, then I'll be like, you're a liar. And you're going to beat this. How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
You know, but for me, I think, you know, how strong I am. Mm-hmm. I think then I know that I got to rely my faith on God, because at the end of the day, I'm like, you know, when everything else failed, when sometime in the middle of the night, it was just that cry, because that's all I could do sometimes. You know, I didn't have words for prayer sometimes. It was just, you know, if you help me through this, let me be a blessing to someone else. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I didn't know how much my story was going to impact so many people. Because for the longest, I didn't want to share it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was friends and families that, you know, was like, you have a platform, help somebody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, but for me, it was like, I never want to be known as Novlene, you know, the athlete with breast cancer. I didn't want that eyes to be looking at me when I get back on the track to be like, all those whispers like, oh, that's the athlete with cancer. That's, you know, I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, that was the role that I think I embraced, because the minute that I start sharing my story was so many people, not that was just even going through cancer, maybe, you know, some of them was, I stopped going to school, but listening to your story, I went back to school.
Wow.
And a lot of times, you know, I do a group called Live Strong for Cancer Survivor. And, you know, a lot of times when I start the group, most of them doesn't know that I'm a cancer survivor, because I'm like, I don't lead by that.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's in the middle of it when they find out, and they'll be like, I didn't know. I said, this is not my story. This is not my place. This is your time for me to help you get you through this. And it's, you know, I'm like, I have 12 weeks to share with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, those 12 weeks is what I'm giving to you. I mean, I'm going to give everything that I have. Sometimes, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes I have 10 ladies.
Yeah.
And each one of them I'm meeting and they're telling me about their story. And it's a lot. It's heavy at times.
Wow.
But I got to find that place to be like, I got this. And I have to know when to put it away, put it in different compartments.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have to learn to do.
Wow. One of the things that you said, you were like, I didn't want to just be known as the athlete with breast cancer. I'm going to let you toot your horn for a little bit. Please tell us your accolades. I want to know your medals, your records. Like, please, just go down the list for me, just a little bit.
I have 4 Olympic medals, 3 silver, 1 bronze. I don't even know much world championship medal.
A lot.
8-time Jamaican champion. I'm a mom of twin boys.
Twin boys. Rambunctious 5-year-old boys.
They're just 5. They're kicking me crazy. But, you know, Commonwealth medals, you know, so...
and you're a wonderful person. I don't think anyone could ever look at you and just say, she's the Olympic athlete with breast cancer. You are so much more than that. You are radiant. You are beautiful.
Thank you.
And the way that you were so giving of your story, it's still continuing to impact lives. And so I want to talk more about your turning point, because you started talking about your faith and how you had to trust God. And even as you're talking, you can see that transition from, you know, and I don't think you were ever a victim, but from something that was happening to you to your happening to the world. And I think that it's something so beautiful to see. So I want you to kind of share with us your turning point. At what point did you decide that your story was bigger than medals? And I know you talked a little bit about it, but when did you say, I'm going to share my story? Because there was a particular interview you did, and you talked about your story right after, I think, the 2012 Olympics. I don't remember when I actually read the interview, but that's the one that I saw. So
my first time, I think, sharing my story was, I think it was July 2013. Okay. So I've gone through all my treatment. I got back on the track, I think I started training in 2013 in February, March.
Oh, wow. That's late.
That's late because I don't have a background training at this point. And, you know, I was like, I didn't know if I was going to run, because my surgery was just keep going back to back to back. And I remember I sit with my coach and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have a season, but we're going to try.
Yeah.
I said, okay, we're going to put all the workouts that I know that works for me.
Yeah.
But we don't have a background. You know, so we started, when we started, I couldn't have no pounding and, you know, doing all that pounding. So I was between the pool and the bike. So I was pool and bike. And I was like, this is hard.
Wait, but weren't you Diamond League champion that year?
In 2014.
Okay, so it was like the foundational year to bring it to 2014.
Yes, so 2013, and I talked to my agent, and I was like, I'm ready to share what I've been through. Mm-hmm. But the thing about, I was like, we got to find somebody that's going to tell my story as I want it. Yeah. Not somebody that's going to write what they feel like writing. Yeah. So I think I went to a meet in London, or Glasgow. It was somewhere over there. I don't remember if it was a London meet. And I think I did an interview. Her name was Laura. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was going to came out the next day, and I know we already ran. And I remember I talked to Christine that runs for Great Britain. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to see something in the paper. And I remember I told her after the race, once we finished running, and she started crying. I said, you see, that's why I didn't tell you
That's why I
nothing.
didn't tell you.
You know, she's my girl, but
Well, I blocked my best friend when I found out because I was sharing on Instagram. I was like, you're about to have a baby. You don't need to know what's going on. So I just blocked her.
it's that. So, you know, it was, you know, and then I remember, you know, I walked in the lobby that morning and I could see the eyes, them looking at me to be like, you know, because at this point, I think it was on Track and Field News. And
That was so brave.
And I remember, because until this point, some of the athletes that I trained with still didn't even know. And I remember I got text and was like, I did not know, why you didn't tell me?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I remember reading that article. It was a written article because I remember reading.
Yes.
Okay, so I remember reading that article, and I was like, I just saw her. And when I read that article, I realized I was like, wait a minute, she's my age, she's fit. Should I be checking? And so I didn't see you that year. It wasn't until 2014. And I thought it was in Paris, but I went back and looked at the receipts. It was in Marrakesh. So if you guys are watching, we travel all over the world together. We've been in several continents, Asia, Europe, Africa, together, and North America. And so we're at this competition, and it's the first time we get to be teammates.
Yes.
We're at the Continental Cup, and
Jamaica and U.S.
Jamaica and the U.S. Yes. So what they do for this competition is they take the two best athletes from each continent, and we all compete against each other. And so this time for North America, we were teammates. And I remember wanting to ask you, and I wasn't looking at you like, oh, that's her. I'm looking at her like, how did you know? Like, at this point, I didn't even know how to do a self-breast exam. And I remember the competition was so long. And I remember it being so late at night. We're in the back of the bus, and I think we got the last bus back to the hotel. And maybe we were going to the airport, I don't remember. But it was late at night, like well after midnight. And I remember asking you, how do you do a self-breast exam? You, oh, girl, here, we're in the back of the bus. Just you put your arm up like this. And you taught me how to do a self-breast exam. This is 2014.
Yeah.
Never in my life would I have imagined that information would save my life. Your bravery of sharing your story is the reason why I started doing my self-breast exams. The lesson you taught me is how I knew how to do self-breast exams. So now I fast forward to 2018, and I'm doing the breast exams and I find a lump. And because you did what you did, I found it at the earliest possible stage. And, I think that because of the way that you handled this journey with grace and dignity and bravery, and even I know the looks were probably uncomfortable at the time, but it was worth it because of what you did. I decided to share my journey out loud. And I think that what you did has a ripple effect that's continuing to save lives because of the way that you handled it. So
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm trying not to cry. But yeah, I get emotional about it because I had triple negative breast cancer. And so that's among some of the most aggressive forms. And I remember when I got the biopsy, and the surgeon, she was happy too. And I was so annoyed. How can you be happy? And she was like, I never get to see them at this early of a stage.
Oh, wow.
Because usually it doesn't work. And so I probably would not have made it to my 40th birthday had you not done what you did. So you genuinely saved my life. My children have a mother because of you. So
Thank you.
I want to tell you one more moment that I've never shared with you. Do you remember when you ran into me at the Cheesecake Factory? I think in the Winter Park area. Do you remember that? It's okay if you don't. Okay. So I ran into you. This was in 2018. And I was going to the Cheesecake Factory. I was so annoyed because we had to park so far away. And we had to go around a construction zone. And my husband was like, hey, isn't that Novlene? I was like, girl, what you doing? Where you going? And you're like, oh, I'm about to, beautiful accent. I'm going to the doctor's appointment. And I was like, okay, well, I hope everything's okay. And you said something. You're like, I think I told you about the lump. And you're like, don't play around with it or something along those lines. And the doctor had just told me that it was a lymph node, not to worry about it and come back in 6 years. But because I saw you, that week I scheduled an appointment for a second opinion. Had I not seen you, I don't think I would have done it. And that's when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So you were one of the first people. I think you probably were the first. I called Sonia first because we had some expectations, and you were the second person I called, and I had to tell.
I know. I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table, and I was like, what? you know, sometimes you have to double check. I'm like, but then you be like, you got this. You got this. You have babies. You came back.
So you gotta be here, girl.
You got this. For me, it was like my husband. No, he need a wife. He ain't gonna get married again. No.
Yeah. Because if my husband got married again, I would come back and haunt him. So, yeah, no, I understand that, and you definitely did. You told me, what I would expect. I told you that I was potentially going to have a reconstruction, and you were just the greatest support for me in that time. And so, how have you changed since this whole experience?
I would say I've grown so much, where, sometimes before, you look at people and, you kind of brush them off or stuff like that, but now it's like, I think I show up for people more. Thing now is like, I ask, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And, I try to be present, because sometimes, just because they wear a smile on their face, sometimes they can be fighting their toughest battle.
Yeah.
Because, for years I've done that, a lot of people doesn't know that I've lost my sister in 2010 at a track meet. I was at a track meet when I got the call that I talked to her the day before.
Wow. Do you remember what meet it was?
I think I was in Berlin, 2010.
I was there.
And, and I remember my husband called to tell me, I was on the plane the next day. I didn't run. Going through my breast cancer in 2012, still running at the Olympics game, don't ask me about it. But I didn't know that 4 years after that, when my mom was here visiting, that I would be going through it again with her. Because, I was at Rio, 2016, and my mom was at my house, and, she had done some tests because she did feel a lump in her breast, and I'm like, I'm there, and I the doctor was like, I have your mom results, and it's cancer. I'm like, oh God. I'm like,
not again. And all the fear and all the anxiety, everything comes back immediately.
Yeah, everything comes back immediately. But for me, I think I tell people, I was like, I don't know if I didn't went through mine, I was going to be able to, efficiently help her through hers. Yeah. Because, as much as it was so painful and it was so hard for me to deal with, I kind of I know everything that they were telling me. Mm-hmm. She got to do this, she got to do that. I understand it.
And you could advocate for her.
And I could, do that for her. Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, when you got to do this, when you got to do that, I didn't have to ask too many questions, because I already know what it was going to be. I already know what it was going to be like. But, no one, you know how strong you are when you go through yours, but you don't want to see your parents going through that.
Absolutely not.
Because it's like, you can't take away the pain. I can fight it. I know I can, but are you strong enough to do it?
Yeah. And that's when you could lend, you get to be, not like the mother, but you get to be the advisor and the person with the wealth of knowledge, because you've been through it, because you could have empathy, you could sympathize and understand. You were able to help her with it. How's she doing? Yeah.
She's doing great. She is in Jamaica, so she, everyone college's appointment, I'm like, ask them this, and stuff. So, that was great. And, for me, it was like, I'm still living in my faith. I'm still striving. I'm still helping, so now I team up with a lady, her name is Laura, that do mammogram in Jamaica, like 100 mammogram every year, for free, because a lot of people don't get an opportunity to do it because they can't afford it. So for me to be the face to help and to be like, okay, without me going through it, then I wasn't able to bless so many people. Absolutely. And be an advocate for so many that is still fighting this.
What message would you give to women who ignore their health because they feel too busy or too strong or too young? What would your message be to those women today if you could talk to them?
Cancer doesn't care who you are.
It does not.
It does, I was naive one time thinking it was old people have cancer.
I did too.
No, but, in our reality, I see so many young people these days that are fighting cancer, and it's not just breast cancer, it's just about every cancer. So for me, it's always, your body better than anyone. Do not be too busy not to take the time out to be like, you know what, the job gonna still be there.
Yes.
If you have a manager or boss or whatever, or if you are just self-employed that care about you, to be like, go take care of your health, because what I look at it is they can find somebody else to do the same job that you are doing. Yeah. So go out, get your mammogram, get it done, get your regular checkup. I used to tell my sisters when I started, I'm like, you're gonna get your mammogram. If I have to drag you and you kicking and screaming, you're gonna get it done.
See, there it is again.
Because at the end of the day, I said, early detection save life.
Yes, it does.
And
I believe that.
Also, the care that you are given, instead of be like, okay, let's try this, let's try that, instead of be like, there is nothing else we can do for you because it's so far advanced. All we have to do is make you comfortable. So, the earlier you catch it, and I know a lot of times, a lot of people don't do it because they were like, it's uncomfortable. Or I think that, for them, it's the fear.
It's a fear.
It's the fear of, what if I have it? Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, you have your people to help you through it. So, don't be so naive or so be like, I'm too busy for this.
Yeah, it's worth it. You have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Exactly. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you end up waiting and it's too late and you got it, and, at some point you're going to be sidelined.
Yeah, you're right. So now we're going to get into our champion's reflection. And I never like to say that the cancer was a blessing. I don't believe that at all. But I do believe that situation could be used to benefit so many other people. And so when you look back now, do you thank your low points?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, and I always tell people, I'm like, that go through cancer, I'm like, you have your story to tell. I said, for me, it just maybe give me a different platform because so many other people are going through it. Yeah. They don't get to share their story. Yeah. But I said, if I can be that person to help you get your message across, as much as it hurts and as much as it's painful at times, as much as I have to relive it, I'm grateful to God that I can walk in that shoes to be an advocate for someone else. So, something that was supposed to break me, I think it molded me into the person I am today. To be like, nobody would tell me I could have twins and running around. There are handful. But, it made me the mom that I am today. It made me the wife I am today. It made me the friend that I am today. But most of all, it let me still stand in my faith and, believe and trust God that in spite of everything that we go through, is always in control. I'm not going to say I'm a survivor. I'm a striver. I'm still striving. And I'm striving to always be the best version of myself, the best mother, the best wife, the best friend. I'm not an athlete no more, but, I'm still striving to be the best version of myself. And I'm still striving to be the person that God designated me to be and to lead me as how he want me to be, because sometimes it's like we don't know how, my purpose was always running, and I give him the glory when I was running, but now I have to give him the glory because he keep using me to keep uplifting other people. And that's what I'm so happy about, that I can still able to stand and say he's still able.
She's still able.
He's still able.
Oh wow. Oh, I cannot believe I made it through without crying, because I'm probably going to cry later. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your story, sharing your heart. I learned a lot about you, and I thought I did good research and I thought I knew, but just learning about the trials and the setbacks that you've overcome, the way that you've advocated for yourself and for others, and just to see the way that track was just a training ground for your greatest purpose. And I believe that your greatest purpose is saving lives and helping people find purpose in their own. So the lovely things that you're doing with Live Strong and training those ladies, you say you're not an athlete, but I am seeing a specimen of an athlete in front of me right now. And the way that you are raising your family with dignity and grace and being a wonderful partner to your amazing husband of 18 years, I am just so honored. You are my champion, and I want to thank you for joining us on the Lowe Point.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
What I learned from Novlene Williams-Mills, and what I hope you take away from this episode, is 1, awareness is power. Don't wait for life to force you to slow down. Listen to your body. Awareness saved my life, and it could save yours too. The second thing is strength isn't about never falling. It's about choosing to rise again. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. The comeback is always stronger than the setback, so never give up. And number 3, vulnerability is not weakness. It's where our healing begins. When we share our pain, we allow others to find the strength in their own journey. Our transparency becomes someone else's survival guide. Number 4, your purpose often reveals itself in the midst of your pain. Sometimes the low point is the turning point, the place where your greatest hurt becomes your greatest opportunity to help others. And 5, faith and fear can't live in the same space. When fear knocks, answer with faith. You don't have to see the whole path. Just take the next step with bold courage and fearlessness. Number 6, be someone's saving grace. You never know how your words, your story, your kindness might save a life, just like Novlene saved mine. So you have the power to be the light in someone else's dark moment. Don't take that for granted. This has been The Lowe Point. I'm Chaunté Lowe. Thank you for watching.